Yeah, we're back. Yeah, no, we weren't just talking for way too long. Folks, I do this. You think I talk a lot on these episodes, baby. You have no idea what I put Heather through before we even press
Oh,
that record button, baby.
I need it.
Oh God, she needs it. She's got it. She has it. She'll never not get enough. Folks, welcome back. We've got Heather Cunningham with us, the one,
Hi.
the only, the beautiful, the Aquarius herself. You're really glowing this season, aren't you, Heather?
Oh.
Oh, oh, mercy me.
Oh, I hope.
Oh dear, I'm embarrassing her. I'm embarrassing. You can't see it, but she's blushing. Just kidding. And it's me, folks. The one, the only, the super annoying.
Oh my
But
God.
I own it, you know? Like, I think it's okay to be annoying as long as you're like aware. It's me, Miranda Lenski. My time will come. Literally, Pisces is on the way. But we're in Aquarius, baby. We're really in it. Peak Aquarius season. I just
Yeah,
this air energy, Heather. It's why it's got me extra chatty, if you can believe it or
I
not.
love, yeah. I
We,
love what the Aquarian is. Sorry, I was like,
oh, mercy.
it air in my throat because it's air season.
Yeah, because I took it all with my speaking. You have none left. She's choking. I'm
No,
just kidding.
no,
I
no,
know. Now I'm
no.
making Heather apologize, and she didn't do anything wrong. Heather, please go on.
What was I saying? Aquarius.
The energy, the
Yes, I do
vibes.
love the communicative air energy. And we have the Aquarius new moon tomorrow. No, the 9th.
Oh,
Um,
it's on my
Let me
calendar as
double
well, I believe.
check. It's yeah, no, in 2 days on Friday because we're
Mm.
recording this on Wednesday. But
Oh,
I don't
love the
know.
new moon.
Also, maybe it's just my Saturn return, but I feel like the we're in Aquarius season, like in the middle of it at this point. But then all the personal planets are like still in Capricorn, and I just still feel very Capricorn,
Mm.
unfortunately.
No disrespect to
No
Cat.
disrespect. It's just it feels like the agenda. Although no, I shouldn't. I mean, I just had a great week with like friends and people coming into town and community, but it's also like I feel like I'm still getting my shit together, but that's probably just the Saturn return.
Yeah, and I also it's a Saturn return for Heather and I specifically. That's always going to throw you, I think, through some loops. There's a lot of just like interpersonal transformation and transition in that, in the energy itself, right? But also, um, yeah, I think we're still kind of in literally winter. We're in that I know that you live in LA, Heather, but as you were saying, it's raining there right now. Ooh, ooh.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a little gloomy, which is a joke because New York is having like her first sunny stretch in months.
I love that for
But
her.
and you know, and I that's why I can't shut the fuck up. You know, it's just got me jazzed. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to go outside. That's crazy. It's February. But the sun will do that. She'll trick you. She will. That relentless bitch. We love her. God bless the sun. Anyway, um, the sun, come on the pot. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyways, but where the
Son,
fuck was
come
I
on the
going?
pod.
Hey, son, we love you. Come on the pot. And it wasn't even a good joke. And I still see that was the air in me that had to get it out and say it.
Talking about the Saturn
Um,
return and about
yes,
being
sorry.
an
Thank you.
Aquarius. And
When you said the personal planets, that's what it was. I had a
yeah,
question.
yeah.
So again, to reiterate for me, because I need that, and for
Mm-hmm.
maybe some of the listeners too, Pluto, right? We've talked about this quite a bit recently because we just had this huge transition of planet Pluto moving in to Aquarius, the sign.
Yeah.
But Pluto is not what we were referred to as a personal planet,
No,
correct?
the opposite.
What
Yeah.
what would we call Pluto? An interpersonal? No, I'm sorry, not
No, an
interpersonal. That's
outer
closer.
planet.
Just that's it.
Um,
That's the phrase for it.
yeah, outer planet, generational planet. But I think like there's a well, or I guess you could say, yeah, there's like personal, then I don't know if I think I have heard Jupiter and Saturn be called like interpersonal planets because they
Okay.
deal more with like society or like larger social things, but then the outer planets are like Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Those are like the farthest from the sun.
Gotcha.
Um but I think the technical astrological term is outer.
Gotcha.
Um
So it's like because they symbolically, their placement in terms of how close they are to the sun, in terms of how close they are to us, that's like the symbolisms. Like similar to
yeah.
again, where retrograde is a symbolism because the planets can't actually physically move backwards. It's our
Yeah, it
perspective
appears
from
that
Earth.
way.
Right. Cool. I just wanted to clarify that. And yes,
Yeah.
and try to and wanted to extra clarify what the outer planets were again,
Yeah.
because I'm just trying to get that more engraved in my brain, baby. The
Yeah. So
layers.
if the sun is like our ego identity, it's like the most personal,
Mm-hmm.
then it makes sense that Mars, Venus, and Mercury, which are the personal planets, never travel too far from the sun. So like
Mm-hmm.
that's why when people are like, "Oh, um I'm an Aquarius technically, but like I'm a cusp. So like I actually feel more Pisces." I'm like, "You probably have personal planets in Pisces because that's how it
Right.
works." Like
Right.
the
And
cusp thing.
yes, it's that's so funny. There are so many people who claim to be on the cusp, and I love not like correcting them, but I love just being like, this is why it's so extra important that you believe in this.
Right.
Your word, their words, not mine.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm like, that's why it's also so fun, and that's usually what gets that when I let them know that there is no such thing as being on a cusp, that there are specific degrees, and like even me, I am a Pisces to that degree. Even
Mm-hmm.
the year I was born, there was like a whole other 24 hours, if not more,
Oh,
of Pisces after me. However,
yeah.
this year specifically, Aries starts on my birthday. Just for this year.
Right,
So,
right.
but however, my birth chart, like the year I was born, the placements, blah blah blah, the exact time, because that is something I know. I am a Pisces sun to the degree, like
Yeah, yeah,
no questions about it. Even though
yeah.
this year, technically, the sun moves into Aries on my actual birthday. I am. It's so sometimes people don't realize that like the seasons can start on different days because every
Right.
calendar year isn't
It's not the same
identical.
every year. Yeah. So you
Right.
can't just say like,
But that
yeah,
I find is for the cuspers or people who have always identified as like I'm an Aquarius slash a Pisces, for example. I'm like, no, you're one, and that's why if you do know your actual time, we should figure this out. And that usually totally sells them. Not that I'm trying to
yeah,
sell anyone on it, but
no,
like
yeah.
that's usually the thing, especially for people who believe they're on the cusp, that makes them like, let me look it up. And then like and
Yes.
5 minutes later, they're showing me their chart on their phone. Like,
Yeah,
what's
they
this mean?
usually have placements in that other
Right,
sign.
right. And that's
Um,
same with me too. I was just going to add, like, I have tons of, or the other day, sorry, Heather, last thing I just want to
no,
say,
no.
just this past weekend, I had a fellow Pisces friend of mine. She's a March Pisces, like I am. She was like, I feel like February Pisces are different. Do you feel the same? And I was like, that's really funny that you say that because there is sometimes signs will have identities to the month they're born, which I still think the overall, Pisces is there. But again, I'm like, when you're maybe a February Pisces, you have more placements in Aquarius in your chart.
Right.
I have so many Aries undertones in my
Yeah,
chart because of how close I
to
am born
Aries.
to Aries, truly.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I, for a long time, thought I was on the cusp until I understood fully that no, I'm a fully in the degree. And like you said too, Heather, you're like the full last degree of
Yeah,
Aquarius.
now I'm wondering if you're 29 degrees Pisces, but yeah, I'm 29 degrees Aquarius, and they say that like the 29th degree is like significant, or like even if you're like the last degree of a sign, it's sometimes like a vital point in that sign, or the like
Mm,
I don't know. They say like once you get to 29 degrees, you've like mastered that sign in past lives or
right,
whatever. So it's like I'm not a Pisces, but I have planets there.
right.
Um
Interesting.
Yeah, I
Interesting
wonder if you're 29 degrees Pisces.
that you've mastered that sign in a past life.
Yeah. um
Heather, you're blowing my fucking mind. Okay,
I know
last thing
I
I'll
like
say about
hesitate
this.
to say that because it sounds so like
No,
I've mastered, but
no,
like
but I kind of, well, naturally, I love that. But also, there are times that, and again, I'm very Pisces. This is something that when people say that they do not identify with their sun sign, I do not identify with that. I have always, since I've known the traits of Pisces, been like, yeah. Even when I tried to be like, no,
I feel
and
like
my
Pisces usually are the first ones to say that too. They're
right,
like,
they're like,
I'm
yeah,
Pisces.
that's me. Yeah, I like make no mistake, Pisces, we're self-aware. We know how crazy we are. Just kidding. But
I love it.
no, but it's like funny because, and again, I don't, I then like getting older and learning more about Pisces, I'm like, oh, this is why you always feel like a fish out of water, or you really feel like you're seeing
Right.
a bigger something that people aren't, and you wish there's like a loneliness to Pisces, I think, and like
Hmm.
learning more about kind of always feeling that way. And then also learning about Pisces placement in the astrological realm and what it means, and sort of the order of the signs and how it's the last one. Learning so like just learning a lot about Pisces and just even feeling closer and closer to it, honestly.
Hmm.
Um, but there are so many moments I have, and I even get angry at myself for having them. And I think I used to always identify this with like being an only child, but there are times where I just, even when I'm like the age when I was younger, there are times where I'm like, I've done this before. Or like, I already know what this feels like. With it's
Right.
in a shitty, and I would get mad at myself because I'm like, you don't though. You've never done that experience. What do you mean? Like, you haven't real, like, in a way that I almost, not that I like know everything. That's not what I mean, but there almost is like, and for a long time, I chalked that up to Pisces of like, oh, you just think you have this big, or you feel and experience a lot with that third eye
Yeah.
mindset that I think a lot of this feels maybe repetitive to you, or like, but that's really funny to hear that theory about the 29 degrees. So sorry, Heather, does every sign, so there's like when you say 29 degrees, it's like, is that the full turn of the, what am I
There's
trying to say?
29 degrees of each sign in the zodiac.
Okay.
So, after 29, you get into the
The
next
next
sign.
one. Okay. I see. I
Yeah.
see.
That's how it's
God.
broken up.
Wow. Because again,
So
like I never, I'm trying to do a better job of thinking in like the chart and visualizing like the chart. It's so
mhm.
difficult though. I feel like you almost can't just like, can you, Heather, picture like a map in a, is there just like a standard sky chart? Does that make sense? Like, because like the chart essentially holds still but rotates. Well, no, because then there's planets are moving within that. And the fuck am I trying to say? Never mind, never
I know
mind, never
it's
mind,
so
never mind.
complicated. No, I mean you
It's
could
all
say it
about
rotates
their, no, because
in
they
that
move.
like the
Yeah.
rising like changes and that kind of rotates the chart and the rising sign dictates like the house placements and but it's all if you don't have like a visual to show people, it's very confusing.
Okay,
But
good. I'm like, you're not
yeah,
thinking in sky maps, are you? You're. I'm like, I have levels and levels to achieve that, or like,
I
yeah.
oh my God, no, but I remember like 5 years ago, or maybe even more recently, like I would read these books. A lot of the Liz Green books I have are like actual recordings of like seminars that she's done and like Q and
Mhm.
A's and stuff. And like so many people in the audience are like, oh, well, I'm 18 degrees Taurus moon and I'm like 7 degrees Venus and Aries. And I was like, whoa, people have that memorized. And now I'm like, I have all my degrees memorized. But it's like,
Wow.
yeah, sometimes I look back and I'm like, wow, I really have learned a lot more, but there's still so much to learn. I feel like I'm so not a master yet. But that's the beauty of it is like you can learn it forever. It's great for Gemini people.
And I don't think. Thank
No,
you, Heather.
seriously, like
But no, I hear you, and I think they're the beauty of like astrology too, or any science or pseudoscience, if you will. Just kidding. Any science or any art form, there's a beauty in knowing that you'll never never
fully.
master it.
No, that's kind of
There's always
why I
more to
love
learn.
it.
Right. There's
Yeah. And
always
it's
more to
so
absorb or learn.
complex and nuanced. And there's
There's a
so much
beauty
more
to
we're still
never.
discovering too,
Yeah.
like asteroids and like it's just crazy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Heather, we
But
also oh sorry, go ahead, please.
oh no, I didn't really have anything to say. I was gonna
Well,
bring it back to the degrees. But
no, that's so, but 29 is the most. Oh,
yeah.
oh, wait, one, I do actually, well, I forgot I had a follow-up question to this. Now, when you say certain degrees, or like when people know the degrees of their placement in their own chart, yada, yada, like is 20, for example, is like 29 degrees Pisces, like because that's a bigger degree than say someone who's 7 degrees in Pisces, is it like, does that also shape, do you feel like that means you have more of that sign, or like you're more, or is it more just like the degree is more like a placement, not so much like a measurement? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like how do you
it's
view, I don't know if I'm articulating that
yeah,
right.
well, there's this thing in astrology that I'm not like, and I don't focus too much on this. I'm not an expert, but they call it deacons. So I like even within the sign, they break it down into three different deacons. So if you're like 1 through 9 degrees Pisces, you're the first deacon. And if you're like 10 through
Ah,
20, and then there's 20 through 29, or, and I don't think that's even exactly correct the
I
way I
get what
said
you're
it, but
saying
it's,
though.
yeah, but they break it into threes. And they say that there is like a different energy. I mean, when you think about like just the way the sun travels through the signs and
Right.
you like adapt the qualities of that sign as it travels, I guess there's something to be said about how like if you're right at the beginning of Aquarius, you haven't spent as much time in it. You haven't integrated the qualities as much as if you're like 29 degrees Aquarius. But there's so much more that goes into it, like where your personal planets fall. Um, yeah.
Interesting.
But yeah,
Oh,
it's interesting.
thank you
Um,
for clarifying that. I'm glad I asked that. That's really, the deacons are very interesting. Or, and it's just, again, it's really funny when people talk to me about that, or like,
mhm.
or ask me, like, do you feel, is there, or like, yeah, if someone's newer to astrology, they love asking that. Or I do feel like this is something that gets discussed a lot, like the difference in the months, and the deacon thing
Yeah.
is really interesting. I'm going to do
Even
more
on
research into that.
Instagram, like astrology memes, I saw something recently that was like, you don't want to date these signs, but it wasn't just these signs. It was like a November Scorpio,
Ah,
January Aquarius,
it was
like
like
whatever.
specific about the
I
month.
was like, wow, but that's cool that even in mainstream like Instagram memes, we're getting way
Right.
more specific. And
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
while I'm saying that, let me just
Please.
take this moment to get excited about the fact that SZA just, I guess she didn't release it yet, but at the Grammys, she performed her new single, which is called Saturn. And, you know, she's a Scorpio moon in Pisces. She's definitely a
Mm-hmm.
spiritual bitch. I think she's referenced
Mm-hmm.
astrology in past songs
Oh
and
yeah.
albums, but there's a line that's like, can't break these patterns, take me to Saturn. That's not exact, but something like that. And I was living, and I love her so much. And then Casey Musgraves is posting a song, releasing a single on Thursday where she literally references her Saturn return. And I don't know if I've talked about how on her last album, um, she in the little, not synopsis, the like forward or whatever, the like when you open the vinyl and there's like a blurb from her perspective, she
Yes.
talks about how like
Mm-hmm.
she was her
I have
birthday
this vinyl.
fell on a
Yep.
solar eclipse, and she was like looking out into the sun on her Saturn return birthday or whatever, and she was like, the world needs more love, and she like got inspired to like write this record. And
God, it's such a good record.
oh my God, don't even get me
I
started.
also
I
have
mean,
that vinyl. It's one of my favorite fucking vinyls. It's such a good album, and just like I can play it any season, any mood.
I have
And
the CD in my car. It's just like
uh
so.
you have the CD in your car?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And my
Heather.
my car is so janky that it like I don't have a USB cord, or like I have this like really janky Bluetooth thing that like you have to connect to the right radio station, and even then like if it's raining it's not going to connect. So like my CDs are precious because that's like what I can listen to at high quality like all the time. And yeah, the Casey Musgraves one, that'll stay in there forever. Slow
That's
burn.
amazing. Oh, don't get me going. And just like the way she talked about that was like a very third eye open album for her too, or she was very open
Yeah.
about um the psychedelics
Psychedelics. Oh, I love
in the
her.
responsible way she took them. Yeah, she's cool. She's or that album is just that was like a cultural, everyone loves that album. Everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's
Mm-hmm.
it's great.
I
Um
I do feel like when I think about astrology sometimes and like celebrities and musicians and artists, I really do feel like how do I articulate this? It's such a big thought, but like these people are like sometimes a piece of the collective, or like the
mhm.
universe is like using these celebrities as like a vessel to like elevate us or spread a message, or I don't know. When I am taking mushrooms, that's how I feel about Casey Musgraves. I'm like,
Well,
yes.
it's interesting to me too, music specifically. I think music as an art form specifically, even more, obviously more than literally what other art form besides maybe, I mean, I guess just writing in general, sharing your thoughts with the collective. But music to me as an art form is so personal and vulnerable for the artist. It's not that
Emotional and
right, you're
yeah.
really sharing, especially if you are a, I guess this doesn't go for all musical performers and creatives, but historically and most of the time, musical artists create and write their own music. And so it's
Yeah.
very personal. That's usually the best music that's made is usually personally written by the artist. It's very personal, it's very vulnerable, and you are like sharing a piece. So to like it is to like, yeah, I feel like you are, and so it's your way to connect with the bigger collective, but also it's like a personal connection for the artist as well to like
Mm-hmm.
have the collective agree with your music and enjoy it and have them be moved and to feel things and to yada yada.
Yeah.
It's interesting, with that being said, that the Grammy Awards fell during Aquarius season. Now I don't know if
Yeah.
they're always during Aquarius season. I feel like
Right. That's a
all
good
changes,
question. Yeah.
but
I wonder.
very interesting that this like ceremony specifically, the Grammys are always a good time, of course, but yes, like what an Aquarius like time to have those awards and then to have SZA talking about astrology and crushing it there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting. That's
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
They say
Especially
Pisces
this
is,
year.
yeah,
Especially this year. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, totally. They say Pisces is the sign that like rules music, which I think makes a lot of
Interesting.
sense because it's such a, I think more than any art form, maybe dance could,
Mm,
mm, but no, I think music more than any other art form is like subconscious and dreamlike. And there's something like, I don't know, subterranean or just like a feeling. Like I was following this one playwright and her online like tutorial videos about playwriting during COVID, and she said like what a gift it is to like be able to write a musical, or to like I could write a whole play and someone could just like strum a G chord and you feel it. Like it's
mm,
so, there's something so visceral and emotional and
yeah.
subconscious and like powerful that doesn't require much like cerebral thought or word, like I don't know. Um
That's
but
really interesting. Well, and when I think about water in itself as an element,
mm,
like running water can be so peaceful or meditative or
yeah,
just like it can be music or it can be
yeah,
it's like it's sound. Not that air doesn't have, I guess like air, wind doesn't necessarily have sound. It does when when what it's moving, but it's not that you don't like feel it and can't. Fire too, like the crackling and the popping of like, I guess fire itself doesn't have like sound. And then when I think of earth though, I think of like that sound of like thunder or like a booming or even again wind moving trees. But in terms of like water as an element, this might be too way too big of a third eye stretch, but I'm like, as you were just saying that, I'm like, water has is like a sound. It's something that like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can hear before you can feel sometimes. Even it's also something you feel and you like
And there's a
immerse yourself
rhythm to
in.
it. And
Right,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
interesting. And like this is so I it's well, it's something you can follow. Like if when you're stranded, it's like you're trying to follow the sound of water, because that's like civilization. There's life there, right?
Yeah.
It's funny when we were hiking in Switzerland, we were tipped off. We were told by a awesome, friendly he was the owner of a crystal shop there, because Switzerland, they do
Hmm.
a lot of mining. They have a lot of the mountains there have these
Mm-hmm.
beautiful crystals. And I was in that crystal shop every day just poking around and
Oh,
talking to this awesome guy who's like lived in this little village his whole life, yada yada. And there was this hike that he tipped us off about, and he's like, you'll there's a beautiful waterfall, it's worth it. And we did it, and we were like, we must have gone the wrong way. We're like, we're not doing something right. We are not seeing this waterfall. He said it was so much shorter and easier than what we're like doing. And like we were just about to give up and go back down, and just like clarify, like, maybe try again another day. And as we were like sitting and just like resting for a minute, because it was like all uphill, I like heard the faintest sound of like running water. And I was like, y'all rest here. I'm just going to like walk ahead. And Heather, I cannot explain it. Maybe it was the Swiss Alps
your
air,
Pisces senses are
my
tingling.
Pisces senses, but I started sprinting towards this, like, it was like a guttural. My gut knew it's up ahead. It's up ahead. And I was like, do I hear water? Like, yes, my fishy senses.
Yeah, I
Um,
love that.
and then corner, and sure the fuck enough, it was so funny how easily hidden this mega ass waterfall was. It was
Wow.
so funny, a huge waterfall, but it was just like perfectly hidden on our view where you really wouldn't have known it was there. And then I had to run back, and I was like, it's here. It's here. We're so close. Come on. And like it was a beautiful moment, and I had like the wind beneath my wings, and I was
Oh.
so alive just to like see the water. We weren't even touching it, or like it wasn't like a swimmable, but it was like I do think there's something that's so alive about the elements, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
In general, but it is interesting in terms of like sound, like, and like how,
Yeah,
it, like
yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but that's really interesting to hear that Pisces is the musical touch, because I also do feel like a lot of artists I love are Aquarians themselves. Um, and like, not that the Pisces that are relevant in terms of music are they're like pretty big ones. We got Justin, we've got Olivia Rodrigo, we've got Rihanna. Um, in terms of
Yeah, I
like big
mean,
mainstream Pisces, the
yeah, Kurt
Aquarians.
Cobain, like yeah,
Oh
but
yeah.
yeah, Aquarius is
I
good
think
at
he
it
might have
too.
been a Cancer. Pisces moon? No, he was. You're right. Kurt Cobain was a Pisces.
And Courtney Love is a Cancer.
Sorry.
Yeah. But
That's what it is.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's just a beautiful, airy time. Music, art, the bigger collective, folks.
Yeah, I think
We're
there
in it,
is an
baby.
emphasis on that. Yeah.
Mm.
Let's let's get out of the work grind. Let's give
And
everyone
get
more
into the
money.
elements.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. We have got to, yeah, running up to that waterfall. Obviously, not every day is going to be a waterfall, but like just the importance of the outside world. My God. And
Hmm.
it's this really interesting age where, yes, we have obviously, just as time progresses, blah blah blah, every year is like the most advanced we just are going to be in technology now, because technology just has entered the chat and been in the chat for quite some
And
time, right?
Aquarius rules technology, so it's
As
supposed to be
mhm,
even more so in these
right.
next 20 years as Pluto
W-
is in Aquarius.
yes, thank you, Heather. And but also this, I'm like, as much as like, the older generation, I get it. I get it. There's times I have an ache for the even the younger generation, because I'm like, forget technology. They don't know a world without social media. This is just like such a real entity. But like, even though we're 90s babies, technology was pretty advanced for that time in terms of technology. There, there's memories I have of that element of still getting outside and playing. And but
Mm-hmm.
it's just really interesting that I feel like, technology means we're going to get lazy, or we're going to get, we're not going to be needed anymore. The human race is going to degenerate. As technology has progressed, I kind of feel like that could not be farther from the truth. It's because of this
Yeah.
technology, it's because of so many social platforms and elements. I feel
That
that
we
we are
should be able
more
to,
connected.
yeah, be more
Yes.
human. Totally.
And
Yeah.
the more I don't think, I think our generation, humans are like the healthiest we've ever been because of the knowledge we have, and how like serious we are about that, how much just knowledge there is out there for us, things we were never taught as kids that we're now like, why the fuck wasn't this taught, and like it should be taught. And
Mm-hmm.
the knowledge, I feel like, as a big collective, has never been like we are thirsty for it. I feel like everyone I know is trying to learn more, understand more, and it's like we have the resources to do that with
Mm-hmm.
technology.
Mm-hmm.
It's really kind of wild being in a place where technology is really advanced, that it's so scary, but also I feel like humans have never been more strapped with like understanding, connecting, talking about shit that scares
Yeah.
us. And like,
Yeah.
because we are so connected, I think there is a way where we will not let, I just still think we've learned so much of the importance of the human touch, even with technology being as advanced as it is right now.
And it's
It's
happening right
yeah.
on time. I mean, when you look at it
Mm-hmm.
astrologically, it's almost like it's meant to be like, hello,
Literally.
Pluto's entering Aquarius now. It is time for technology to work with us and like
And
bring
for
us back
us.
to,
Mhm.
yeah, humanity. Not saying there might not be some obstacles and hiccups
Right.
but yeah.
I do think for
Um,
the greater, it's like beneficial. It's the same way, like I know I compare technology a lot to social media, but I feel like social media was always the thing that was really talked about when we were a lot younger, of like, we don't know the effects of this. We don't know the long term, but it's like, I do, while we can understand and see a lot of the negatives of social media, we've also see a lot of social media die. Things that don't serve us as a community anymore are
yeah.
falling off. The whole collective getting bored with something, or just getting
Hmm.
like, this is bullshit. We're so tired of seeing the highlights and like we want it's like, weirdly, again, social media, I feel like, has become more authentic and real than it has since it started.
I
Um,
agree. Yeah, for
and that's a
sure.
really beautiful thing, because I think we changed that, as a collective. We changed
Yeah.
what was important to us, and like the matters. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Connecting with more people who you like, even if they're not just ideas, there's people sharing them. We're just talking. We are
Hmm.
connecting, and there are strength in numbers. There's knowledge, because there's strength in there's power in that as well. And then there's always the knowledge is just like, following suit. It's really fascinating to me. And you're
Yeah.
absolutely right, Heather. So sorry. Last thing I'll say about this, like, when you look at astrology, call it a pseudoscience, or I say that right? A pseudoscience all you want, bitch. Call it
Yeah.
that all you want, okay? Because exactly. However, it's almost like, if you're paying attention to astrology and the movements that are here to come, this shit is already written out. It's literally
Mhm.
already in the stars. It's crazy to me how aligned this is with
Mhm.
like the astrology timeline, and
Mhm.
sort of like, and not that we, can necessarily tell the future, but when you understand the overall bigger themes and how aligned those have always been in our
Mhm.
history with the
Mhm.
fucking movements of so many things, that's when this shit starts to really feel like, it's just, again, when you make the simple observations. We are not saying that because Pluto entered in Aquarius, this is what's going to happen. Like, that's not it. It's more just like, it's interesting when you look at observations, and where the last time Pluto entered in Aquarius was, where we were at as a society, what was going on, and a lot of how that, now that it's returned again to Aquarius, maybe a lot of issues from that are now ready to be changed as we
Yep.
move forward again.
Yep.
The beautiful reset, and we've been dying for one. Like, you
Mhm.
cannot make this shit up. The
You really
energy is
can't.
there.
You really can't. You really can't.
Thank you for
Yeah.
reminding us of
No,
us, dad.
America is
uh,
having its Pluto return, like, and if you just like look at your own life and what happens during the Saturn return and like coming back into your authentic, like it's all cyclical. It's all
mhm.
that's how life is.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. I like wanted to
Cycles,
ask
baby.
you
Oh,
about your
sorry. Yes,
feelings
please.
about fate, but we have like 2 minutes before we have to move on.
I know we have to move
And
on to
that's too
the.
loaded of a question.
And
But
I'm also like, and yeah, I feel like you probably know my take. Or
yeah,
like, I,
I'm
I,
comforted by it, but a lot of people aren't. But I think about it a lot.
yeah, I just, it's like you just said, to keep it like short, the more I understand that I think I used to be I used to be someone who really chased a constant state of peace, happiness. And in order for me to be happy, everything has to be right. Everything has to be good. Everything has
In
to be perfect.
control, like,
Control of the and it's like, oh, you get peace when you let go and
yeah,
understand that things are just always going to be in ebbs and flows. Everything is a cycle. Nature is a cycle. We are human beings. We are a cycle. We are part of nature. The more you let go, I feel like, and remind your human conscience and existence that not that you're not special, but that you as an individual, you're not a, we are, I think the more I let go, the more I'm reminded, and like the less I try to control, the more I'm reminded I am a part of a bigger something, if that makes sense. And
yeah,
fate to me has become much bigger. Maybe it's my old age, because again, I don't consider myself religious in the textbook sense, in the Bible sense necessarily. I
yeah,
over the years, though. I've become so much more spiritual, and that all just kind of grew with my own interest in astrology. What about
yeah.
you, Heather? Sorry, I know that
No,
was
I'm
like the
comforted
vaguest,
by it. I see it as protection. I agree with everything you said. Um, yeah,
the short woo woo answer.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love all the like spiritual girlies on TikTok are like, not to get too woo woo with this. And I've been like saying that all the time now, too.
Oh my God, story of
Um,
my life.
but I love that because I love that. I think a lot of people, I hear myself. I know how a lot of people can believe about fate, spirituality, astrology. I know how it sounds, but just a littlest observation and dipping your fingers in, you'll see.
Yeah, yeah.
And with that, Heather, shall we?
Yes.
Oh, Heather, speaking of Aquarius and Pisces, quite the chart we have on our hands today.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I have been wanting to cover this person. I think even last year I wanted to cover her because I love Aquarius. I'm biased. I think that, we're also in this Aquarius period with Pluto in Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, yada, yada, yada. I love what it stands for: progression, the future, big ideas coming together, humanity. But oh boy, I started watching or listening to it's called The Astrology Podcast recently, and they go really in depth. It's an amazing podcast, and they have these episodes where they cover each sign and they bring on an astrologer that has a heavy emphasis in that sign, and they just do a
Mm,
deep dive into it. And the episodes are like 2.5 to 3 hours long, and it's like amazing. And I watched the Aquarius one recently, and
nice.
I thought I knew all there was to know about Aquarius, but it's always good to go back to the basics. And they were talking a lot about how Aquarius has big ideas
Mm,
and almost shoots itself in the foot sometimes by like having the big ideas and being so idealistic, but like not having that Capricorn sort of reality function, or like Aquarius likes to think its way out of things or like cut corners through, like, if I can just like think. It's also like the inventor. So like if I can just think of like an inventive way to like figure out this issue, that I don't
mm,
have to do all the like Capricorn work, or like,
uh-huh.
so at that, I really got me thinking. And then I thought about the one person who I was like very upset to hear that they're an Aquarius, and that is Elizabeth Holmes,
The one, the
who
only.
who's in prison now. Apparently, she's good buds with Jen Shaw, who's a Real Housewife, who is a super big problem, and they're in prison together. Anyway, um, but Elizabeth Holmes, bless her heart, yeah,
That
Judge
just made
Shaw
me
committed
choke.
like a huge credit card fraud empire, but Elizabeth Holmes, I think, had good intentions.
Hmm.
She basically, yeah, is like a scientist slash entrepreneur.
Right.
Had this idea to innovate the healthcare system through creating this piece of equipment called, well, the company is called Theranos, and I think the equipment was called Edison after Thomas Edison.
Right.
She was very inspired by Thomas Edison, who created the light bulb. And anyway, this piece of equipment was supposed to be something that people could buy at like Walgreens and bring home with them. And it basically tests your blood and can diagnose you so that you don't have to worry about having a good, healthcare or jump through all these hoops to like go to a doctor, which has only become more and more of a problem, obviously, over
Right.
the years. So like really amazing. And she had this way that there's a HBO documentary that I highly recommend that follows her whole uh rise and fall. And she had this way of like really convincing everyone, even though she didn't have the product and couldn't show people how it worked,
Right.
she could like explain the idea to people and got so much backing and funding, and like everyone like worshiped her for a while in Silicon Valley. But she also is this like Aquarius, early Aquarius, who is very robotic, really wanted to be Steve Jobs, like would
Right.
only wear black turtlenecks. And she changed her voice to like sound more masculine and be taken more seriously. So like there's interviews where you hear her talking in her normal voice and she sounds like me, but then every time she's giving a presentation or like doing something important, she talks like this, like I am Elizabeth Holmes, and it's like weird, and there's like a weird
Interesting.
robotic Aquarius thing going on with her, like she like kind of seems like a robot. um Very strange lady, very quirky Aquarius, but anyway, basically
But
like
the
she
Pisces moon ideas were there.
but like so she saw this like grand plan, like she
Yeah, like for what
envisioned
it's
this thing.
worth, yes, for what it's worth, I was gonna say like it's a beautiful idea and
It
like would have been
is
a great invention. I'm also like probably I'm wondering how expensive it would have been. Like again, like the idea was there, but I guess it would have been a privately owned like product so that she probably, would have made shit tons of money
profited,
off of,
yeah.
right? But again, if her idea and intention was to like not jump through the loopholes, I'm sure she would have gotten a lot of backlash if it was like super expensive. But yeah,
She
to
wanted it to be affordable. Yeah, but it just like,
that's okay, cool. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was like a part of it. But yeah, the idea is not bad.
no, it's not at all. It's a great idea. That's why so many people were like worshiping her for a second.
Right.
But then yeah, she just could not build a machine that was able to handle like all those blood tests. Like it got
Mm.
to the point where like she bought the patent for it. She had this like 9 billion, or I don't know, I'm not going to say numbers, but she had like so much backing and money from people, and it was like a shit show, kind of like the Fire Festival, because she didn't actually have
Have it.
the
She just had an
product. And she had
idea.
all these like, and the documentary is so cool because it shows like the employees who were actually like in the warehouse building this thing,
I
and
just wrote a note to myself to watch the
it's so
while you
good.
said that I like made a little note on my phone to watch
It's
it
so
because
good. It's by the
I'm
same
intrigued.
filmmaker who did the Scientology documentary and
Mm.
Going Clear. And yeah,
Ah,
it's
very
so
nice.
interesting. But I just looked up the natal chart of Thomas Edison, because she looked up to Thomas Edison so much because he invented the light bulb, but he
But he didn't.
but he said he said he built the light bulb
Right.
before it actually worked. And
Oh, that's right. I'm also
luckily,
thinking, my apologies. When I meant he didn't, I forgot because the whole sorry, side tangent.
yeah.
When you this was something I recently learned. Very Elon Musk of her, right? To name this equipment the Edison in like to honor Edison in that way.
Yeah.
Whereas like Elon Musk, that's the whole name of Tesla is from the actual man Tesla, and a lot of people didn't know
Oh.
his name. And he, I think it was either worked at, he's the one edit or Tesla basically I think worked under Edison or for Edison or maybe with Edison. They're like they are around each other is the point. And I don't know the exact like if he worked for him or with him in that like capacity, but Tesla was the one who figured out I think electricity first, or maybe it wasn't that he figured it, like him and Edison figured it out together perhaps, but Tesla wanted it to be free. The whole idea was like making it free. And I think that's like where the solar powerness and like electric all
Yeah.
comes in, that idea of using the sun's energy. I'm not sure if
Yeah.
that was quite his plan. I don't know if we knew we
That
could
makes
do that
sense.
yet. I don't
Yeah,
know all
yeah.
the, but his whole, I do know that he wanted it to be free.
Hmm.
And then Edison profited a fuck ton off electricity. Edison was like, why would we do that when we can make money? And that's literally why electricity cost us money. And there are so many better resources to get our electricity, like the effortlessness, not effortlessness, but just truly the amount of solar energy that could
Right.
be supplying, you know, all these things we figured out that, and like, but that would be so much healthier and better for the planet because that the rate we're moving and the way electricity just costs so much fucking money, all because some guy said so, you know, and that
Wow.
was so anyway, Tesla got like buried. He never got credited with it because Edison is the one now that we like credit with that.
Wow.
Anyways, but very funny of Elon Musk because Teslas are not affordable. Well, I guess now they've made more. Um, and so maybe they are a little more affordable. I'm not quite sure
I
because
know
they've
that
gotten more
they're not like
popular
as expensive
as they
as like
were when they first came out.
as or as
Right.
most or as you would think for like a nice car like that, but like yeah.
But it's funny to me that all I wanted to say in comparison to Elizabeth Holmes, it's funny to me how Elon Musk really credits and honors Tesla, this guy who was like, this should just be a right for human beings, as he is one of
Right.
the most richest motherfuckers in the game. And
Yeah.
also didn't really like do these inventions himself, like had a team of people that he profits off of that
Yeah.
create his
Yeah.
things, right? That's why they're, and, you know, and him
Yeah.
and again,
Yeah.
it's like his vision is like there, but he's like the worst. And it's just really funny to kind of see that comparison with Elizabeth Holmes. It's like, why doesn't this add up? Why is your messaging and the vision like a good thing, but you as a human are shit or like you're not the best? It's really
Yeah.
interesting. I kind of am like, so was it never about human beings for her and more about the fame of being the inventor? That's somehow how I look at it with like
I
Elon
think
Musk
that
too.
the documentary kind of shows that, which is so upsetting because I want
Interesting.
Aquarians to be better, but she's so like,
She's
I
just
don't
one. She's
know.
just one.
No, yeah, but I looked it up and Thomas Edison is also an Aquarius
Wow.
wanting to skip the steps and just has the idea. And it like
Hmm.
really gets me thinking, like, because I don't know, so many of the biggest, most famous Aquarians are about ideas, but it always works better when it's like they're spreading a message of love or like, I don't know, like you think of Jonathan Larson who wrote Rent the musical or like
Mm.
Eckhart Tolle or Oprah Winfrey or like, you know, it's great to be an idea person if you're not like committing fraud.
Do you think these
Um
Aquarians have, God bless them, Capricorn undertones?
Well, Thomas Edison has like all his planets in Capricorn except for the Aquarius sun. Jonathan Larson does not, I don't think.
And again, I mean, I don't mean that to say Capricorn is a bad sign. I do just think though it's really interesting that Aquarius is all about this collective, you know, sort of energy, but I think there is a lot of you have to set yourself up for success before you can set up others sort of energy when it comes to Capricorn.
Or you have to
Capricorn is
ground in. Like
right.
yeah.
It's just kind of interesting, and I think sometimes that can maybe be, if that's more of the focus, the community is less, or like the bigger why are we doing this, you know, at the end of the day. um
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, I
Interesting.
think it's so interesting, and it got me thinking like, God damn it, I totally do this with astrology. Like it's like my way, I think, of like cutting corners and being like, well, if I could figure things out and predict the future, then maybe I don't have to put my nose to the grindstone. Anyway, back to, but I had a whole moment when I
But
was
you're
thinking about
self-aware,
this.
Heather. Yeah.
Ah,
And
for
you've come
better or worse.
clean to us, to me and the listeners.
But yeah, then Elizabeth has Pisces moon, which also very imaginative. Um, but you know, the dark side of Pisces is a little bit delusional, which I think,
Right.
you know, I have Aquarius and Pisces together, and it's you have to ground in.
The
Um,
ideas are there. The follow through is sometimes absent
yeah,
a
the
lot.
fall, that's true.
That's yeah. It's like the ideas are plenty. The follow through, I don't know what is that? What is follow through? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But
Oh my God. But yeah, her
interesting.
chart's interesting. We don't have her rising, unfortunately.
Bummer.
But a stellium in Scorpio with three
Mm,
Mars conjunct Saturn conjunct Pluto in Scorpio is very powerful. So that's the part of her that like does just really want power, honestly. Like Mars
interesting.
and Pluto together has a lot of willpower. Mars is the will, it's how you assert yourself. It's Aries. And then Pluto is like the underworld and that like subterranean power that is sort of just like uh it's an outer planet, but it's like within you if it's connected to a personal planet.
Interesting.
And but yeah, but actually, you know, if Saturn is closely connected to a planet because Saturn's the planet of restriction,
Mm-hmm.
they say that it's like Saturn and Mars together can be like, sure, you have a lot of willpower, but Saturn is restrictive. So it's a late bloomer. It takes time. It's always like you have to put in a little bit more effort than the
I see.
average person if you don't have Saturn, you know, if someone didn't have Saturn there.
Mm,
Um, yeah. And
interesting.
Uranus sextile the sun is very inventive. Uranus is the planet of Aquarius and Sagittarius, again, seeing great heights. Jupiter and Neptune. Jupiter is expansive, sees great heights, but like with Neptune there, can be a little bit delusional, a little bit greedy. Um,
The greed, yeah. That's
mhm.
yeah. Because I'm also like the Pisces, I get the ideas, but I'm kind of like Lizzie was maybe not tapped into that moon when she was taking
I
money.
know, I
I like could
know.
not do that. I could take I would be afraid of this.
It's so sad, but the Aquarius part of me does think like it's also so principle like motivated. Like
Mm,
I don't think I would ever do what she did, but I like can understand the mentality of
I have to
well,
do
this is
this
gonna
now.
work out.
Right. Because right.
Like even Jonathan Larson, when you watch Tick Tick Boom, like I'm very inspired by him and with him it like more so takes the form of art. But he was like struggling for so long. And the musical he made in Tick Tick Boom, that was like a weird ass sci-fi musical, everyone was like, dude, this doesn't make sense. And like, but he saw the vision and he
Mm,
was like, if I could just keep with it, like I know there's something there. And then like, you know, by 35, finally he made the thing. But it's like it's
it's
like the
really
starving
funny,
artist or the, you know, like you have an idea that motivates you and everything else is
Heather.
like,
It is. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to interrupt.
no, I was done.
You are blowing my mind and reminding me of something I totally forgot about until right this very moment. And maybe we've already talked about this story, so my apologies. But
Mm.
Jonathan Larson, right, is like the sole credited human of Rent, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah.
know this. I have a friend, I'm not going to say her name because I don't want to out her.
Uh-huh.
And she basically had a client come in and just was making small talk with them and was asking them. Now I feel like my friend's a therapist and like they told me something that's not what it is,
Oh
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's more just like she works at a place where like you know she sometimes gets some higher end clientele, and that's
Uh-huh.
like the only reason we'll hear about the like the visit sometimes.
Okay.
Jesus, I feel like I'm making this so much worse. My friend works she's a dermatologist. So she
Oh,
works in a
okay.
dermatology office here in New York.
Yeah.
And like obviously there's, she's not ever trying to break patient via
Confidentiality. Yeah, yeah.
right. But every now and then she'll be like, this person was like visited today, like a famous person, or like, or like
Fun.
I
Yeah.
did get to like and a lot of and I never hear about what they're in there for. It's more just like, um it could be a checkup for all I care. Anyways, we know celebrities take care of their skin. This isn't
Yeah,
news.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, but she had a guy come in and was just making small talk. And when she asked him like what he did, he talked about being like a playwright. And she was like, oh, anything I would maybe know or seen. And he kind of scoffed and laughed a little. And he was like, have you ever heard of Rent? And she was like, that guy died. And like,
Right.
there's a whole movie about it. What do you mean? And she was like, maybe he's talking about a completely different play. And turns out, like, she kind of did all this like research because she knew his name and was like, is he like later on, she was like, is he talking about Rent? And now I guess I'm kind of outing him if anyone was to research this, but I trust the listeners. But when she looked it up, he is like the composer, so much of the composing and the idea of making it a more rock musical, I guess,
Mm.
came from this guy. And him and Jonathan Larson had a lot of issues and disagreed a lot creatively. And he essentially got like no credit for Rent. But it was Jonathan's idea. He even said that to my friend, but so much of the actual composing and work and like lines ended up being this guy, it turns out.
Mm.
And when you do look into it more specifically, he is like, we know Jonathan Larson is credited with Rent, but you just reminded me that I heard this story. And now you're like, and Jonathan Larson's also an Aquarius. And there is kind
That's
of this, like, when
crazy.
you look more into the Rent credits, is all I'm saying. He's not as, there's, I think, a lot more of an underbelly there. And it sounds like it was more of
Right.
John Larson's, like, maybe I have this totally backwards. Maybe it was this other guy's idea and Jonathan Larson is the one who did all the composing. I could be wrong. I could have that switched. I just know that if you look more into the research of the creators of Rent, this guy pops up a ton more and is just not credited the same. And um it's just interesting now
Interesting.
that we're talking about this in an Aquarius
Uh,
avenue of like this similarity. And again, like it is just so funny, Heather, because you are not someone I have ever known to cut corners in a way that you take credit. I've been friends with Heather since college. I've watched her write all of her own work when we've done like student theater and when we put up and produce shows.
I have
So
a
I would
heavy
like to,
Saturn Capricorn Taurus
I
thing
was
going
just
on.
gonna say, I would
But
like to disagree with you a little bit because I do notice your work ethic and I don't think you are a cutting corners
but
type.
I try
But
to think my way out of
well, and
like
I think that
practical
might just be
reality.
a work strategy in a sense as well. There is
Yeah.
a little, and also a lot of success stories have a little bit of sprinkle of delusion in them,
Oh,
right? Like there is
totally.
sort of a, you got to risk it for the biscuit, right? You got
Mm-hmm.
to kind of
Mm-hmm.
get a little, that's sort of what it is, right? Whenever we talk about like manifesting and it's like, what is the biggest, most insane dream you can think of for yourself? There are some
Mm-hmm.
people who achieve it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think it requires thinking a little delusionally, just saying those big
Or
heights,
yeah, or an out of
yeah,
the box. I mean, even Paris Hilton like became I mean, I guess you could say she's born into fame, but like she was like the first person to be like famous for partying, or like there's something about
right.
Aquarius too that's like, let me figure out a way to have fun while I
I
work,
don't,
and I can like do it in an inventive. But
yeah.
Elizabeth Holmes, God, it can be.
Which, did she grow up with money? Do you know? Like, where did she come from in the first place to sort of even be in the realm to pitch something like this?
I don't know.
Sorry, just curious.
I know that she like impressed a lot of professors at whatever college
Mm,
she went to, and she
okay.
like that was her first like way that she got credibility, was from, yeah, impressing professors at
That
college.
confidence
I don't
built.
know if she came from money. I can't speak on that. Um,
Interesting. I'm totally gonna watch the documentary. I'm
you
very
should. It's
fascinated.
so good. I highly suggest it. I
The
mean,
Going Clear
she's a
documentary is great.
weirdo. Oh my God. Yeah. No, I love Going Clear. Yeah. And now I'm
Anyway,
like, I want to look into the sign of the people behind Fire Festival and like that shit show.
yeah.
Um,
Did I ever tell you this Jonathan Larson story? I'm sorry, I just sprung that on
no,
you
I know.
because
And
I
I'm a
do
little
love him
bit like
too. I know.
processing
I'm
and a little bit
sorry.
like, oh God.
And again, I could have that totally wrong. I might have that flipped of it was this guy's idea and Jonathan Larson wrote it. But I had always understood that story as that was Jonathan Larson's baby and the like poetic ass way and the way he died right before it saw Broadway officially, it was so tragic. But this guy definitely wasn't lying, is just was the interesting thing. His
Right.
name was all over that shit. And I was just like, why don't more people know this guy also worked a lot, or it's just like we act like Jonathan Larson is the soul. And it's just interesting again with the Elizabeth Holmes, the Thomas
Yeah.
Edison. Like, I don't think Aquarians are bad, but I do think, yeah, maybe the getting ahead of yourself, like you were saying, can create a very specific whirlwind, so to speak.
Yeah.
Perhaps. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'll
Yeah.
have to
I'm
look
gonna
more.
look.
I was gonna
I
say,
know
I'm
I was
like, check
gonna
my
I was
sources.
trying to quickly
I'm
Google
not trying
it,
to
but
upset the theater.
oh, music arranged by Steve Skinner.
I also
Original
do not
arrange.
remember this guy's name whatsoever.
Okay.
So
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting. 'Cause like I admire that Aquarius has these far out ideas,
yes.
but you need other shit to make it
Well, and,
something.
and you can't steal.
I know.
You just it's okay to have the
I
far
feel
out
like
ideas.
Robin
It's just
Hood is
also like
like an Aquarius archetype.
it's like, well, I'm stealing or I'm doing this for the greater good, for a bigger.
Yeah, but
It's
it's
almost like that
like,
power and that drive of for the greater, for the bigger.
yeah,
But it's like, but technically, like, you will just maybe get in trouble, and like
yeah.
it'll keep you from this greater good business you're after, right? Like you can get in your own way, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Uh,
Yeah, fascinating.
Fascinating. Elizabeth Holmes,
Um,
sweetie, when you get out of jail, come on the pod. Just
I
kidding.
know. Oh my
Does she?
God.
Oh yeah. How long did she? Do you know when she
I
went
don't
to
know.
prison?
I
Uh,
I
or how
fairly
long she's
recently,
supposed to
I
be
think it
there?
was maybe like 2 or 3 years ago that
Okay, so more on
she,
the recent side.
yeah, she'll probably be
Damn.
there for a bit longer. I love
Oh
that she's
wow.
friends with Jen Shaw. If you knew who
That's
Jen Shaw, she's like the ultimate villain of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, committed
and they're
huge credit
friends in
card fraud,
prison.
and it's just so funny.
They're bonding.
The
Um,
last thing I'll say about Elizabeth's chart before we move
Please.
on is it's also interesting that there's like really not too many harsh aspects, meaning red lines. Like when you look at
Mm,
it,
right.
like most of the planets are in harmony, which can be good or bad. Like sometimes that's like you kind of need tension in order to have that like discourse between planets and to have that like help
Mm,
or like, like the friend to check you, like the
right.
planet to keep you in check.
But it's like all of
Um,
her planets are equally as delusional as she is.
but the sun is square. Yeah, it's a Mars problem. It's so interesting. And Mars is the planet of action and actually like getting shit done, but like Mars is very debilitated in this chart. Um
It's like that meme of like me mentally unwell and my also equally as mentally unwell friend agreeing with me. Or like me being delusional and my delusional friend agreeing with
yeah,
me.
yeah,
Like
I've seen, yeah,
it's like
it's so
yeah, I hear
funny.
what you mean about like the harmony can almost be like exactly. You need a little like check yourself. You need almost a voice to be like, oh wait, bitch,
Mhm.
that's stealing. Wait, bitch, you're gonna serve time. Let's pause.
Oh Lord. It's so funny.
That is interesting. Because yeah, you almost would imagine something like sharp red lines, because this one's all over the place. But
Yeah,
it's
sometimes it's the
sometimes
opposite that
those signs that are in the most harmony are the ones you're like, whoa, and you don't see
uh-huh.
it coming either, because
Mhm.
or it's very like, oh, that was sneaky. Yeah,
Yeah, Liz Green
fascinating.
says you want an equal amount of like tension and harmony, ideally.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really. I know I just keep saying interesting,
Kind of
fascinating, but it
profound,
is.
right? Like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And again, just like the cycles and the ebbs and there's no such thing as really harmony in our nature and in our
Yeah, you
reality and
need
in our world.
conflict.
The harmony comes from being comfortable with the disharmony.
Hmm.
Disharmony? Go on.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Um, we have a week, Miranda.
Oh boy, do we.
Not the most intense week of the year by any means, but it's an exciting one, I think. I think we're more so feeling Aquarius this week.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, the sun was traveling ahead of all the personal planets. This week we have the new moon in Aquarius on February 9th, which also marks the Chinese Lunar New Year.
Yes.
And then
Year of the dragon, baby. Let's get it.
yeah. And then Mercury enters Aquarius right after, and then Mars enters Aquarius right after. So I'll break it down. February 8th, which is Thursday when this comes out, Sun in Aquarius squares Uranus and Taurus. I'm not too excited about this, or maybe I am. But anyway, basically, Uranus has been in Taurus for a while, dancing around there for the past few years. And it's supposed to bring like sudden insights and shakeups and chaos, but also breakthroughs with Taurus earthy matters, wherever that falls in your chart. So I think this is significant because we're entering a Pluto period. The sun is obviously a very important planet, and a square is a very like impactful energy. So we're going to be dealing with
Hmm.
like Aquarius themes coming up against Taurus themes, and how to bring the two together in a perfect Jonathan Larson. No, Jonathan Larson doesn't have Taurus moon. Eckhart Tolle. Never mind. Anyway, um then on Friday, the new moon in Aquarius. Super exciting, really feeling Aquarius. Fresh starts before the next one would be a Virgo full moon
Mm-hmm.
later on. And then February 10th, which is Saturday, right after the new moon, Mercury will enter Aquarius and square Jupiter in Taurus. So again, bringing these Taurus versus Aquarius themes, but that's a bit more of a lively, expansive energy. And then February 13th, Mars enters Aquarius, but it will meet Pluto before it does so, because Pluto is standing still right at the start of Aquarius. But these quick
Mm.
personal planets have to like go over Pluto before they rest in Aquarius.
Interesting.
So
Loaded energy.
yeah, it feels like this is the week we really like get into Aquarius
Right.
more so with Mars and Mercury and the new moon. And
We finally like fully shed that Capricornness and like
yeah, but then also deal
indulge.
with this tension with Taurus. So
Right.
that's interesting. And
There's
that's going to
always
be a
an earth sign to
theme.
keep us in our place.
Yeah.
God bless them.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that's like also a theme for the entire year, because Jupiter and Uranus are like slower planets that are hanging out in Taurus.
Right.
And Aquarius is the slowest, or sorry, Pluto is the slowest planet that's hanging out in Aquarius. So yeah, I don't know. This is very advanced, but it's a big year for Taurus Aquarius people.
Yeah. They keep or the and or like you mean those placements specifically,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
just those signs, but like
Yeah, if you
having
have
like
any planets there,
so you might
moon,
see some
rising.
movements there or what have you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the fresh start business.
Mm-hmm.
I love the lightness of air. It just feels like yeah, air in itself, this energy, again, we're coming out of winter. We're slowly moving into spring. We've just crossed the like threshold of the sun is staying out longer again. We're officially out of the darkest days. There's like a general overall more lightness. We want to spread those wings. We want to float a little bit and get ready for what's to come. It does feel very like fresh startness,
Yeah.
which I love. And yeah, so many loaded like new moon in Aquarius, Lunar New Year, like you said,
Yeah.
Year of the Dragon, just a whole new. And then the astrological new year comes like a month after that. So it is like
Mm-hmm.
the last of the like gear up, right? It's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Love
And
this time.
I forgot the buzzword that astrologer Channing Nicholas used to describe this week, but it's like expect the unexpected, basically, because Aquarius has big ideas, sudden insights. It can be a little bit spontaneous and crazy. And then Uranus, Aquarius's ruling planet, is also heavily involved. So it can be like sudden ideas and breakthroughs, but also just like surprises.
Interesting. I need a new word. I've been saying that. I'm like so
What do
aware
you
of
say when I just like
bitchin'.
talk at you about yeah, bitchin'?
That's so boss.
That's
uh
hot.
that's hot.
To quote an Aquarius. Yeah.
That's hot. I'm an Aquarius. Hot. No, I just yeah, I'm engaging and feeling the lightness, Heather. I hope you are too, listeners. Love and light, especially light. Just a little light.
Yeah.
And love, of course. We've got this. We are one. Don't lose sight. We are connected even when we feel alone or pissed off at our fellow humans or
Yeah.
disappointed in them. The
Yeah.
light always outweighs, baby. It just
I love how
simply
you put
does.
that. Wow.
Yeah. I've been watching too many space movies.
Yeah, it's
More
very
on that later.
Aquarius. Hmm.
I know. I literally want a star or like I want like a map of the sky. I'm like, screw land. I want to get out there. Give
Me
me an
too.
aerial view of this whole bitch. Third eye, the
Hell yeah.
universe.
Right?
Anyways, I digress.
I'm with you.
Listeners, we love you. This is the year of replenishment and abundance. Get at it. Love you.
Love you. Infinite abundance. Bye.
Au revoir.